My name is Jonathan Evison. My friends call me Johnny. You may call me Johnny. I am the author of the scandalous novel Lawn Boy. I'm a mama's boy. Like my mom raised me, single mom. We didn't grow up with a lot of money, but I always felt like I had a safety net. My mom would do anything for me. And she's 90 now, and 2 years ago she was diagnosed with stage 4 oral cancer. And so she moved in with us. We lived together, and I went through the whole process with her, all the doctor's appointments and the radiation and everything, and I was by her side through this. And I got to thinking, like, she should really have a husband with her. She deserved that, but she kind of married two bums. She spent like 60 years married to two guys that didn't appreciate her, didn't treat her well. And I wanted to write her the love story she deserved, and that's what this is. It's a story of a 70-year marriage, a marriage that endures, and it's not necessarily happy all the time. It's like Percy Sledge said, true love travels down a gravel road. And over the 70-year, they lose a child, which is something my parents went through. Their marriage endures a lot of the same things my mom endured, but I have a partner by her side the whole time, and it's not easy. It's an uphill marriage. It takes a lot of work, but it was just, I just wanted to write my mom the love story she deserved. And I was so scared when she read it because, I knew she was going to see that, obviously it was based on some of her experiences, but, and she loved it. And so I knew I had succeeded just in that. Like if she loved it, then that's, whatever. If nobody else loves it, I'm okay. I succeeded. And I'm glad I got to write that while she's still with us. I'm kind of at this stage right now where my late brother, who had decided to end his life about 5 years ago, who was a lounge entertainer, playing the Great American Songbook, 40 years after the fact, like in the 80s in these like little logging towns in the Northwest. And he'd play he'd have a Fender Rhodes on one side, and then he'd have a key bass on the other side. And then he had a rhythm machine, that he'd work, and then he'd sing. And if he had to, and then he had a pedal bass, so he was a one-man band, and so if he needed two hands to riff or something, he just switched to the key bass. And he loved the Great American Songbook, and he was my closest sibling, even though he was we had the most in common. He was 15, 16 years older than me, and I'm kind of writing the story he deserves now too. He didn't ever understood that he was my hero because he never made it. He never really got any traction with his career, and so he died kind of feeling like a failure that way, but he didn't understand. There was no way I could get him to understand that the reason he was my hero is because he didn't get traction, because he just went on in service of the music, in service of the songs, in service of this dream, and that was what was truly inspiring to me. And so now I'm writing a book about to honor him, and like the book about my mom, it's not necessarily. It's based on events in his life, but mostly it's a novel that I would hope would please his ghost because it loves the songs. It's like a tribute to the songs, and I just wanted to write him a better ending. I go through cycles. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I've written 20 novels, and it just happens that my impetus has changed over, like when I wrote All About Lulu, it's like, I want to write a coming of age novel. And then when I wrote West of Here, I was like, now I want to write a real big, ambitious world beater. And, usually the dictates were like, I want to try this. Like with Again and Again, it's like, I've never written an unreliable narrator. They're all kind of unreliable, but like a traditionally unreliable narrator. So that was the conceit of that novel, was to take on that challenge. And then, sometimes it'll be a theme, like with Lawn Boy. It's like I wanted to write a novel about the American dream, the state of the American dream. And kind of like Small World was the same thematically. Small World and Lawn Boy are companions, but they're completely different. One is a first person talk to you like a friend narrative, coming of age, and then the other is this huge sprawling historical novel with 36 points of view spread out over 180 years, but like thematically, they both ask the same question, really, which is, has America made good on its promises? Is the American experiment a success or a failure? And largely, I think we can agree it's a failure. I don't know. I mean, I did take a cruise before I wrote Harriet, I'm not a cruise person, but I thought, Harriet's going on this cruise, and I could have faked it. I could have looked at a blueprint of the Holland America thing. I could have interviewed some crew members. I could have, just like, okay, there's a Lido deck here, here's the pool. I could have moved her around and essentially faked that, but I thought, I'm going to take this cruise. I'm going to have life imitate art here. And I'm glad I did, because I found out, like, there's just little things, little details that you would have never guessed, like stuff they're not going to tell you in the brochures. Like the first thing I noticed when I got on the cruise ship was like there's Purell every 20 feet. And I'm like, because they're so, if they got a GI breakout, it's disastrous, right? And this was pre-pandemic. We're used to that now. But like then I was like, geez, look at all the Purell in this place. They are really worried about a GI breakout. So you get little details like that I would have never got otherwise. I don't really prepare. I just kind of leap in, it just all starts with a character for me, and a character that wants something. And then the rest is just that character or those characters, all of them collectively making decisions that complicate the journey. So I'm not a high concept guy. Sometimes the novels sort of end up high concept with like nonlinear timelines and bifurcated timelines and gigantic casts and lots of points of view. And they kind of seem, high concept on the surface, but like really they're all just about characters. It's always characters that drive them and characters' decisions that create the drama. And so in a way, I just kind of create characters that want something and just kind of set them free in a narrative landscape. And they always just make bad decisions, and then they have to navigate them, and the stakes rise. I always have sort of a intuitive feel for what the character's arc is going to look like. Not necessarily, I don't know the ending, like the exact philosophical note I'm going to hit or the scenario exactly, but I always have a sense of what their character arc's going to look like intuitively. And it's pretty much Aristotelian in nature, it's kind of a 3-act arc, rising stakes, rising actions, a climax and a denouement. And I always have sort of an intuitive sense of how that's going to work for a character. And other than that, I just kind of let the book write itself. They all mean something different to me. It's like having a favorite kid. So no, I mean, it's usually the one I'm working on. I mean, like as far as like a narrative achievement thing, it would probably be like Small World or West of Here, just because they're so ambitious formally. But I'm really proud of them. But like, I don't know if that's necessarily like the first book I would recommend. I mean, Lawn Boy would be up there because it's just, people really relate to Mike and it's funny. Like, not all my novels are funny, I mean, sometimes they're funny and sometimes they're, I have several different tones. I kind of wonder, like, I think I'm giving readers something they recognize that I give them every time, but like, the books are all very different, people tell me that all the time, like, your books are all very different, and I must be doing something the same because they keep coming back. Like, I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's sort of a balance between humor and pathos, just like a voice or a tone. Like I think my readers trust me, like they trust my moral compass. They like the pathos. They like there's some vulnerability there, but they all look very different. Not a fan. It's like asking me my favorite kid. It really is. Music informs my writing hugely. And I think it's like on a prose level, like I'm not somebody who likes to work his sentences till they're purple. Like, I mean, it's like Mike says in the book, I mean, I don't want if somebody's just turning on a lamp, I don't feel like their thoughts need to be a smoky chiaroscuro of longing or whatever. Maybe just turn on the lamp and move your character. But then maybe, if you're carrying your dying father across the great divide at sunset, maybe it's time to sort of but like mostly I just want my prose to swing in that sort of Louis Armstrong way. I mean, just swing. I want him to bounce. I want him to read quick. I want him to have velocity and momentum and just be easily readable and like rhythmic and just to swing, I think, yeah, I mean, I don't know if people consider me a great prose stylist so much, but like, I'm proud of them. I like the way I write, but I'm just not I'm not super verbose or anything like that. You know, I've always just felt like the words are there to serve the story, you know? So like if I'm writing an up-tempo scene, the prose are going to be more up-tempo. If I'm writing a more reflective scene, the sentences are going to be longer and more expansive. And so, but they're always going to swing. I don't ever want them to be clunky or at the end of the day, I want people turning pages. You know what I mean? Because if they're turning pages, they're engaged and I'm doing my job. And that means I always look at it as that, like, I want to give the narrative to the reader and just kind of get out of the way, you know? It's like the opposite of modernism, you know, where I'm like trying to read Faulkner and I'm like, oh my God, he just changed points of view 6 times in a sentence. Look at him. That's amazing. It's impressive. But like at the same time, I'm like, dude, just can he move out of the way so I can sort of like, immerse myself in the story. So I try not to be authorial. And then there's a kind of a balance you run because you want to write sentences where people are like, wow, I want to read that sentence again. But like, you don't want to do it 8 times a page. I mean, to me, it's like, it just got to suit the story somehow, you know? Yeah, it just kind of depends where I'm at. If I'm in a serious, instrumental helps, sometimes if there's lyrics, like it'll kind of distract me. But like Charles Mingus, I like to listen to Mingus or, Count Basie or Ellington, stuff that swings. But usually not, if there's a vocalist, then I tend to I just want to stop writing and listen to the words and stuff.